Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's PlantPredict webinar. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sarah Jr., and I'm the Manager of Marketing Communications for First Solar, and I will be your host for this webinar. In today's session, we'll be covering a live demonstration of PlantPredict, a fast and easy to use solar energy modeling software. The webinar will include a review of some basics for new users, as well as instructions and helpful tips on a variety of features. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we will observe a demo prediction using PlantPredict Premium, learn how to clone and compare projects, discover how batch predictions can save time and improve the accuracy of site optimization, experience Map Builder with 3D side view to perform quick and accurate site assessments, and towards the end, we will give everyone the opportunity to get engaged in a live Q&A session. The webinar will be recorded, and we'll send out a link to that recording after the webinar. If you have any questions or issues, please use the chat or questions feature of the GoToWebinar platform. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Martin Schneider, our Technical Sales Manager and PlantPredict expert, who will guide us through the demonstration. Martin?
Sure. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar on PlantPredict. Yeah, before we start, I think we have a first poll question for you guys, and Sarah will introduce this shortly because, of course, it's for us always important to know, yeah, how much experience you've got with the software, and so that I know in general the audience, which will make it easier for me to accommodate the content also for this webinar.
Okay, thanks, Martin. So I launched the first question, which is, as you just said, how experienced are you with PlantPredict? Used it for several years now, used it a few times, I've logged in, and I've never used it. Are the options? I'll leave this open for a few seconds. Looks like it's quite an even amount of answers here. I'll go and close the poll and share the results with you. So yeah, I think most of the, or let's say half of the attendees have never used it. And then there are also a few that have a bit of experience, and also a couple that have quite good experience with the software. So that's great.
Perfect. Okay, so with that, yeah, let's just start the webinar. And I hope everybody can see my screen by now. So what I wanted to touch first is our homepage. There are several important aspects to that homepage, which is, yeah, the main source of information around the software. The first item is contact. So if you guys want to register and create an account for PlantPredict, this is the page to go, the contact page. It takes you directly to the registering screen. We've changed that. We've had like an email to be sent out to registrants before, but now we've decided to link this directly. So you'll be able to use PlantPredict right away after registering. We've also got a help desk, which is support@plantpredict.com. I think this is also important to note that, yeah, we have this help desk, which is available to everybody, and we're trying to, yeah, answer questions that come up right away, and make sure we give the best support possible for our users, because we know from our own experience there's nothing worse than users encountering issues with the software and then nobody's able to help. So we're really keen in answering everything. Then, of course, there is release notes, so that you always know what's going on with the software. As the software itself is web-based, you don't have to care much about not having the newest version because it's updated automatically. And you can see what we've changed here. For instance, with this latest release, PlantPredict gets updates every 4 weeks. We've extended that cycle to make sure we really do a full week of testing so that nobody runs into unexpected issues. And we've got the PlantPredict API. I won't touch on this on that webinar, but briefly, there is the software development kit based on Python, which enables a lot of automation. And we have a lot of users that really use this heavily to optimize their projects. Then we've got the models and algorithms sections here on that homepage. So in case you're really interested in how PlantPredict calculates certain aspects of the overall modeling process, you can go into this, and there's all sorts of details. And you can click on one of these items and get a detailed description how the one diode model works, and so forth and so on. And I think this is also pretty important that everything is visible. So all the algorithms can be checked, and there's no black box. We also have a user manual that also goes a lot into detail for each of the sections, and just a little bit more explanations on several aspects. Yeah, and last but not least, we have the PlantPredict Premium. I'm going to touch on that later. So we've launched a commercial offer in September, but I'll touch on that later, as I said. Okay, so without further ado, let's go into medias res, as they say in Latin. So I've just logged in as a basic user. PlantPredict still has a basic offer. That means it's for free, but we're limiting certain aspects of functionalities of the software. So you're still able to do projects, as you can see here. Yeah, you can still use the available database, but any addition to the database is not, does not work if you don't have PlantPredict Premium. So for instance, you cannot add new weather files. You see that here. Or if you like to use an inverter that's going beyond our already very huge library, this would also be for premium users, and the same applies to modules. Right now for weather, there's 10 free usages of paid weather resources. And I've already highlighted the resource section here, which also features 4 papers that we have from independent technical engineers that reviewed the software in detail, and that led to PlantPredict being bankable. And we also have a benchmarking paper that benchmarks PlantPredict versus real operating data from our assets as being the largest O&M provider in the world. Okay, but I think everybody's also keen to look at the PlantPredict Premium offer. And for this, I would need to log in as a different user. And this is no advertisement for LastPass, but it was just very easy to use here. Okay, so I've now logged in as a PlantPredict Premium user, which enables all the premium features, of course, that we have. But before I really go into details, we do have another poll question for you. So Sarah, you could take this.
Okay, I will launch this now. So the question is, what features are most needed in utility scale solar software, according to your opinion? First answer is more accurate predictions, better integration with schedule and cost estimates, better layout tools, financial modeling, or all of the above. I'll leave this open a little longer. We're already getting quite some good feedback. Yeah, I think we're having almost a tie here. I'll wait a few more seconds. Anyone wants to answer? Okay, so let me show you the results. Yeah, most of you thought all of the above, which is great. And then better integration with schedule, cost estimates, just that, and better layout tools wasn't really an option, but more accurate predictions and financial modeling. That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I think all of the above is probably what every customer would like to check, of course, because everybody wants software that can do everything. No surprise, but we'll show you what PlantPredict Premium can do in a second. So, yeah, I'm going to show you a little bit more about the basics, so that you have an idea in general of PlantPredict and its capabilities, and we plan to go further into a lot more functionalities with webinars over the coming months. So you can import a project directly from a KMZ file, and for that purpose, I've created a KMZ file here. I've been really trying to find some neutral location. So I've been chosen to do it somewhere in Africa. And so we're doing this here in Chad, and this is the overall project screen. And then you need to create a prediction, and you have several choices here. You can do it with a block builder. Then the map builder is the layout tool, which I'm going to show you now. And then there's batch predictions. And let's do prediction with a map builder with trackers. And this leads us to this overall prediction screen. And you work yourself just simply from top to bottom. And so you start with the weather data. And yeah, NASA is here, but also Meteonorm. Let's use NASA data here for that purpose. You can also adjust the albedo, which is important for bifacial modules, which PlantPredict is also capable of. Soiling losses, plant design temperature is something that we are using to do an accurate inverter rating. And you can add an horizon screen as well, horizon scene. And then we go into the actual layout functionality. And yeah, we've got, which is kind of standard now, I guess, these days, the Google Earth screen. So this is the satellite view. And yeah, then you can upload your KMZ data. What you can see on the right side is also you can upload topographical data. So DEM or TIF is also possible. If you don't have that, it just pulls it from Google. So again, we upload our site boundaries, and then you choose your components. So basically your inverter, here, and you can choose a module, and yeah, you see I've been trying also to be kind of neutral here, just to highlight and emphasize on the fact that PlantPredict works for any technology. You've got to give this tool some kind of initial value to this point, but that's of course always adjustable. You can start with a tracker, Then you pick your GCR, and I'm just choosing random values here. Also, modules wide is the length of a tracker, which can be 30 or depending on technology more. And then you update your DC capacity, and you can see with just one click, it generates a layout, and the overall engine of that is based on our experience being one of the largest EPC providers in the world, and all that experience really flew into or has flown into this engine here that we're using. And with PlantPredict Premium, there's the functionality that you can directly generate a PDF layout that you could send to any kind of stakeholders, be it internally, externally, whatever. You can download this here. What you can also do is download the full layout as a KMZ file. So the KMZ file will show blocks. If you have smaller sites, it shows each table separately also. And something that I also wanted to quickly highlight is a 3D site view. So it's building a complete 3D model. But of course, as we've got around 50 megawatts, allow it some time to load. Okay. So you can actually, if you wanted to, you could walk through your power plant. What's also possible is that you can actually download a file, an OBJ file that you can use in your virtual reality goggles and simply like walk virtually through your power plant. But what we've also got is topographical tools here. You see that the site is not that flat. But what's also possible is, for instance, that you define slope constraints, and you see that certain areas are marked in red. And you could also do this with table slope constraints, and it would mark those tables that exceed your tolerance. Okay, then we save progress. And yeah, go back to model choices. This is the section where usually you've got smart defaults. There's not much or nothing to change, but you could adjust the time frame of your simulation, the shading model. You can do degradation. There are a number of different degradation models available, which can be stepped AC, which is sometimes done in financial modeling, but you can also do linear AC, linear DC, and so forth and so on. So this is also a pretty powerful tool. And it would run the prediction for each year to be really accurate. Yeah, so then we run the prediction, which is typically pretty fast. And then there is a very detailed section here for the results, where you can see the loss factors on the right side, plant net energy results by hour and month. And there are further charts available to visualize the results. So you could go practically through every day of your prediction. And you might want to check for a certain location, for instance, if shading occurs or whatever. So that's possible here. Now, what I also would like to highlight is the clone feature in general. So we had a prediction, I think it was with 40% GCR. So what we're doing here, but this is just a variation. Of course, you can vary anything. You can simply vary your GCR and create a new layout from that. All you need to do is simply update your DC capacity. Save your progress and go back. As you haven't changed anything else, you can directly run the prediction. And we're not going into the results section here, but what's really great and powerful is the compare results page. So side by side or head to head, you can see the impact of your changes. So we had 40% GCR here, 35 here, and you can see where the difference is, what provides higher yield, and you can see that in the loss section as well. So there is no need to print out PDF reports and have two screens and match those on, or have those up on screen 1 and 2, or even print these out. This is totally unnecessary. You can simply see side by side what the comparison is. And yeah, you can really see the impact of also slight changes that you have done. And this enables much quicker optimization of sites. Okay. Yeah, important is also that this has an Excel export comparison feature, so that this particular comparison is exported into Excel format, and you could like input this into any other tool that you like to do, like financial modeling and so on. Financial modeling, by the way, is something that we're looking to implement as well over the next months. It already exists. We just need to implement this in PlantPredict itself. So yeah, that goes back to the question earlier. We're really looking to integrate something that users enables to do a full site assessment, like from the site boundaries up to full LCOE calculations. Okay, another possibility to do something quicker is use the block builder. This is also done, of course, if you already have a layout. This is more the traditional way of having an energy prediction tool. You again start with your weather source. And this is the block builder itself. You see the logic is coming from utility scale PV plants. So you have it in blocks and you add an array where you can group several inverters, for instance, and have them grouped onto one transformer where you can also adjust the losses. Same goes for the electrical losses. You might have noticed already that there is no detailed loss section as such, where you only have the losses, but each loss is can be found under its respective category. So if you're looking for inverter losses, you need to go to the inverter section and not to detailed losses, which I think is much more practical. So yeah, we use the inverter. Again, you could use string inverters as well, no problem. Then there is a design derate, which is basically the power factor that you're using. You set a DC-AC ratio, and then you add your DC field. And also, of course, you have to add some parameters here. Let's do a fixed tilt comparison or a fixed tilt prediction. This is the basic section, just with a few parameters, but you could define the field as well. You could add terrain, slope, and the slope azimuth. As I said, losses are here. DC health, for instance, is something that we have from our own EPC business, which relates to in utility scale plants, like minor defects, like blown fuses, broken connections, or bird excrements, or whatever that just lead to some kind of noise in the data, basically. And you can adjust this here. There's also object shading with advanced 3D design. This is something I am going to cover on one of the next webinars. Okay, so we've got that, but what's pretty nice is there's a quick edit feature. So you don't, once you've created that in the block builder, it's not necessary to go into the whole block builder if you only wanted to adjust mismatch losses or LID or certain of these other values here. And again, we go to model choices and run the prediction. Okay, and we can quickly jump into the results section. As you can see here, of course, there's, as it's mentioned here, also the possibility to do some further system adjustments, also to adjust this at the P level, to include, I'll just go quickly here, system details, availability loss, power output plant limitations. You can add transformers, transmission lines. And one thing to notice that the overall AC and grid connection part is pretty sophisticated. This is something where we saw, a certain lack in functionality in the existing software, and it's been a real critical part of the business overall for us being an EPC. And so we put a lot of emphasis on having, a real accurate prediction section here, not only for the DC side, but also for the grid connection part. Okay, let's quickly run this again. And the next thing that I wanted to highlight is batch predictions. Of course, we are not the only software that offers batch predictions, but we have a very, very easy to use engine and UI to use batch predictions. And I'm just quickly going to show this to you guys. So you choose a base prediction. This is the one I just did. And then you can choose up to 2 variables to iterate. So in this case, it's DCH ratio, GCR, azimuth, and tilt angle. And I, of course, can't run like 300 predictions right now, because then our webinar would probably go to the, not to the evening, but at least to lunch. So this is just very quickly to show you guys the capabilities. We could also do tilt angle varying from 9 to 11. That makes it 18 predictions. And then we run this. It runs all of these separately. And this is more or less just an excerpt of what's actually doable, because this is just what we introduced within our user interface. But within our API, you could basically run batch predictions for any accessible value. And these are, I think, almost 100 or so. And you can automate this and run thousands of predictions. We have customers that sometimes do predictions runs of 3,500 predictions, varying practically everything. And they just leave that open overnight, let this run overnight, and have prediction results the next day, which is super powerful if you really want to go deep into optimizing your asset. And we also have a nice visualization tool. You can see that here. So it's a 3D plane. It's in this case pretty linear because we didn't really iterate over many values, and we kept it pretty narrow. But if we, for instance, would iterate over a critical part of the regime of the DCAC ratio, you would see curved planes and things like that. And you can export this, of course. So all the predictions that you had run can be exported into an Excel file, and then you can do some further work on them. Yeah, so this is the batch prediction functionality. It's pretty nice. And let's go back here. And what you can also do is, let's go back to our tracker prediction here and clone it. Let's get this one here. And I'm going to show you how to quickly do some more edits. So you remember this is our layout for this particular site. And if at some point you feel, okay, this is a nice starting point, but I like to do some further adjustments, you could switch to Block Builder here. And then you are in that section that where we were earlier, but it is for this given particular layout. So for instance, if you wanted to change your data acquisition loss because your overall data acquisition system it needs an incredible amount of energy, you can do that here, shelter cooling loss, whatever. You can adjust this further, or for bifacial modules, for instance, you could increase post height like here, and or you could even combine this with object shading, given that you have a wind turbine on site or any other huge building that obstructs part of the PV plant. You could do this here. And then, yeah, simply run the predictions. Okay, so this was the block builder. Some other feature also concerning the layout tool is, and I can also do this here in the tracker prediction, is that besides having just site boundaries, you can use much more detailed site information as well. So you can upload KMZ data also as constraints. So in this particular case, there might be a rock or something like that on site. You can see this here, but you're also able to add any of your features. You can create a linear constraint. I could do this here. This would be something like a street, or you can create an area constraint like the one we uploaded earlier. And the layout tool respect all those constraints, as you see, and not place any modules or tables. you can also adjust the setback around those, which is something, yeah, that can be a particular problem if it's gas pipelines, for instance, something that I have seen with a lot of customers, to make sure each of these are respected. And I think, of course, we need to give these guys names, otherwise you run later into issues that you don't really know what these are. Quickly do that. And very powerful, what you can also do is create a cut fill analysis. So let's switch back to satellite view. If you have a site that's very has a very undulating terrain, then you might want to have everything leveled. And so what you can do is select a particular section of your power plant and do a cut fill analysis. And what the tool does, based on your inputs about the topography, it calculates the average cut depth, fill depth, the overall volume of soil you would have to move, and all these values depicted here, so that you have, let's say, a more granular understanding about your site and what needs to be done, for instance, in certain cases, if you exceed the specifications that were outlined from your tracker manufacturer, tracker supplier. And yeah, this is just, let's say, more of a general overview. And like I said, you can download everything as a KMZ. And if I were to open this in Google Earth, you can see the whole site as a KMZ file, and that would also enable you to share it and further adjust it, for instance, in AutoCAD tools. Yeah, and also to send this further for any further manipulation. Okay, we are actually a little bit early. I hope I was not really too fast, but one of the important things also for this webinar for me was to have a more lively Q&A session. That's why we left a lot of time open for this Q&A session. That's also what I highlighted in my latest LinkedIn post. So yeah, I'd like to open the floor to any questions that you guys have. As usually in this GoToWebinar, you're free to use the chat side, right, Sarah?
Yes, either the chat in your control panel or the questions section. We have one question here, Martin, that just wants to get back to knowing what exactly the premium account includes. So if you could highlight that again, that would be good.
Sure. Only in this particular window here, what's basic is the layout tool itself, but there's in premium, there is the 3D side view. There's the downloadable PDF layout drawing, and KMZ download can also only be done in the PlantPredict premium version. Then what we have is for premium also the weather upload and download. So you have a direct functionality. There's a direct link. I can show you in a second here. So you can add weather from, depending on location, Meteornorm, SolarGIS, and NASA directly into PlantPredict. This is also only available for premium users. And yeah, depending on location, on here for the US, there's I think 2 more vendors available. For India, there's also an additional one. That always depends, but this is also only a premium thing. Then for modules, which is great, is we do have a full module import tool, which allows to generate a module file from your datasheet. So as you know, there are, or as you might know, there are some independent engineers that do have numerical tools for generating module files or pan files for PlantPredict as such. And we have we've developed such a tool ourselves as well, of course, but we have implemented this here, included this in the PlantPredict Premium section. So there is no need to always ask for a pan file from your manufacturer. Also, when you're probably not very sure about IAM losses or other factors, you can use the tool directly if you're a PlantPredict Premium user. Yeah, and also what's important is the API in general. So API usage does not come for free. But of course, what's important, and I think something that I missed, was in general the commercial offer for premium. So we have something like an initial offer here that is valid until the end of this year, where we have an individual license, so one license only, that does not come with API access and no admin capabilities. But for business and enterprise, that depends on the number of users. Business is $2,000, includes 3 licenses and API predictions. We will most definitely remove the number of API predictions. This will be, they'll be unlimited. But what premium features users will also enjoy is they can set company defaults. So I hope I can do this here. Yeah, so if I were to run my own company, I can adjust for the whole company to set soiling losses or voltages and all those things directly, which is, and this is set for all users within the company to make sure it's all, yeah, according to your standards. Additionally, we have time series data, which allows the user to do predictions where certain parameters change on a minute basis even. Such things such as grid accessible power or certain temperatures, some module operating temperatures and all these things. This is something that can be done with a CSV input file, and then manipulate even sub-hourly values, because PlantPredict can also do sub-hourly predictions. And energy storage systems, also something that's only available to premium users. So we do have a full AC coupled storage section available, which I will highlight in a further webinar.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what if I have my own LiDAR topo data? Can I use that with the 3D side view?
Yeah, you can. Earlier, I was highlighting this here. So you can upload your own DEM data here, which is, I think, the output file from many LiDAR 3D measurements, and this will be directly used within PlantPredict and within the 3D side view, so you can adjust, the layout in general.
Okay. The next question, what are some of the features that are planned on the enhancement roadmap?
So like I said earlier, what we'll be doing is, first thing, financial modeling will be possible, most definitely in January. And this will include the basic, or let's say the more sophisticated financial model that we, that First Solar has been using, being a project developer in the US, but this will be extended to international, of course, with all possible adjustments. But what we're planning is that you can really optimize your system based on the financials. So there'll be a section that can actually do optimization based on financial inputs. So that in the end, you don't have an output curve that shows you yield, but that shows you LCOE. And that is a powerful thing we're planning on. Some minor updates are, for instance, bill of material. So you can, you'll be able to download a full bill of material based on the layout that you created here within the section. Yeah, and there's a couple of other things that we're also planning to bring over, such as more detailed design functionalities within the map builder itself. You can adjust, yeah, what we've done here, road width, but also more of these distances between tables. It goes more into detail for trackers, where you can configure your tracker a little bit more in detail. So there's a strong roadmap that we have.
Thank you. One question is about how do I get support if I have questions?
Yeah, this is either done here in the contact. Then you can write us an email here, or you can write us directly at support@plantpredict.com. So basically, we don't have it anywhere on slides here, but just for you guys to copy, this is the actual email address to be used, and we're looking into this on an hourly basis and making sure everybody is getting the support he or she needs. This includes general questions around account creation, of course, but also really in-depth questions as how are soiling losses applied at which section, and how do I download nodal data, and how can I quantify respective shading losses, for instance, in nodal data. So we're trying to really cover the full aspect of support, and you're not relying on some forum where somebody might look into or know, and you don't really know who's replying. We're really putting an emphasis on direct customer contact, and we're also open to do direct phone calls and sessions to make sure we understand the issue correctly. Because as you know, from an IT standpoint, sometimes users may report problems, but then it's rather difficult to replicate those. But we're happy to jump on phone calls, WebEx meetings directly, and really check where problems might be, or simply to help you guys to use more of the functionalities that we have.
Thank you, Martin. One other question is about privacy and when using the software for a larger developer. Can you talk about data protection a little bit?
Sure. PlantPredict is not hosted on First Solar servers, and we only have access to general data. We just see if users or who is logged into the system, and we're seeing how many predictions are run. That's all. We're not seeing anything. So the data that might be input by you as a customer about your particular project is absolutely protected, and that's also part of the T's and C's, or that we have with PlantPredict to really make sure we're also addressing current data legislations or data security legislations.
Okay, and then there was a follow-up question there. If this is cloud-based, would it be possible to modify or supervise the projects done by colleagues?
Yeah, in general, as this is cloud-based, a good starting point. We have different statuses. That's the plural. I don't really know. But you can change the status, for instance, of this particular project. Okay, it needs to be done in the prediction section. But each prediction can be put to shared. And what's great is you can share this. You can see here, you can put it to shared, and it's been shared in your organization. So it's accessible by any of your colleagues within your organization. And then, of course, it's up to you to be a little bit, or to be careful with the status you put into it. Analysis is something or bit that cannot be changed afterwards. And you want to make sure that you don't, let's say, ruin the project of your colleagues. But in general, you can simply use the prediction that your colleague has done because it's on draft shared, and you can clone this and take this further and do some more investigation, and then put this on draft shared and send it back, and then of course compare it to make sure you understand the impact of your changes. So that is also something that makes collaborating much easier.
Okay. I hope that answered the question. Thank you, Martin, for showing us that. Yeah, I think we're actually now coming to an end of the webinar. So thank you everyone for submitting questions today. If you have any further questions, as Martin mentioned earlier, we have the support@PlantPredict email, support@plantpredict.com email address, or the contact page at our www.plantpredict.com website. We're always happy to answer any questions that you submit at a later point, or even reach out to you and conduct a private demonstration. We also like to invite you to follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn as well, if you like, where you'll find the topics for future webinars as well. There are usually monthly recordings in different regions. And with that, I think we'll conclude today's webinar. And thanks again to everyone for joining. Have a good day.